Welcome to People Like Us, a podcast for and about third culture kids everywhere. I'm Jen Mohindra. I'm also a TCK, and I have a Facebook group for TCK adults called, unsurprisingly, People Like Us. Hello and welcome to another edition of People Like Us. I'm delighted to be joined today by Mari Laidlaw. Hi Mari, how are you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. It's lovely to meet you, Jen. Very excited to be here today.
Thank you for coming along. So, straight into your third culture kid experience. Tell me, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Hong Kong. I was actually born in Basingstoke, England, and I left there when I was 6 months with my parents, obviously, and we moved to Hong Kong. Grew up in Hong Kong, had all my schooling there, then came back to England, went to university in Sheffield. My mum is Japanese and my dad is English. So after I graduated from Sheffield, I spent a few years in Japan teaching English. Then I traveled a little bit and then went back to Hong Kong for a while and worked there. And then I've come back to the UK and I've been here for about 10 years now in London. Yeah, so my three countries are basically Hong Kong, Japan, and England. My three homes, I would say. Yeah.
I was about to ask which feels like home, but you've just answered that for me. So 3 homes.
Yeah, all of them. Yeah, all of them. Depending on where I've been at any given time, I'll be missing the other 2 or some aspect of the culture. So right now, I'm missing Asia in general, so Hong Kong and Japan. Yeah, especially Hong Kong's been in the news quite a lot recently, so I just want to go back and give Hong Kong a big hug. That's how I feel. Yes, yeah. I haven't been to Japan for a few years either, so I just miss the culture, the people, the food, just little things.
So the coronavirus travel restrictions are being felt.
Definitely, it's a strange thing actually, because I am quite used to being away from the other 2 countries and away from my parents and my sister, but having the restrictions is not. It feels it's difficult to deal with because I can't just get on a plane and go and see them if I want to or need to. I don't like it. I feel quite far away from them at the moment. Yeah,
the world's
it's shrunk, hasn't it? So.
Yeah.
Don't like it. yeah that is I try not to dwell on it too much because it's a little bit scary to think about when I'm going to see everybody again.
It's just uncertain times. It's such a strange time, and bizarre. I think as you say, just not dwelling on certain things helps you get through it.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, thank God for Skype and Zoom and WhatsApp and social media. It makes you feel a bit closer, but it's just, it's the hugs I miss, actually. You just want to hug your family and just know that you can if you want to.
But virtual hugs, not quite the same.
No, I'm a very huggy person, so it doesn't really mesh well with my way of thinking and stuff.
So you said you had your schooling years in Hong Kong and then you moved back to the UK for university. What was that transition like?
That was difficult. A big shock to the system. Hong Kong is very different to England. So everything from the weather to the food to the people, just used to having my family around more. I struggled definitely at the beginning. Growing up in Hong Kong, it's quite privileged lifestyle in many ways. So I guess it was coming to England on my own when I was 18 was hard. Yeah, definitely hard. I was quite homesick. But after the first term, I got really into having all this freedom away from parents and, embraced English culture, which was a lot of drinking in pubs and a lot of eating takeaways, getting to know my housemates. But it was hard. It's a hard transition, definitely. I actually didn't expect it to be that difficult, but I was definitely shocked when I arrived.
What stands out for you in terms of what was hard at the time?
I think it was being away from my family for the first time, and not having them so close. I was just used to having my parents and my sister there, and I couldn't just, take off of a weekend and just go and visit them. I was there on my own essentially. That was the hardest thing, and the weather was very cold and grey. So that was, after being in Hong Kong, where we just don't have winters like we do in England, that was difficult, definitely. Yeah, I mean, I'm used to it now, but back then, as a young 18-year-old, definitely the start was a difficult transition.
How did you find things like fitting in with the other people at university?
That was, so I had some friends from Malaysia actually, and that helped, having other students that were foreign, if you like. I was studying Japanese and sociology, so the other people in the class had an interest in other cultures and countries. That helped as well. I mean, yeah, it was quite difficult at times, but that you either had people who were really interested in where you came from or just found you quite strange. I had a housemate who was from France actually, and she often got me mixed up with another housemate of ours who was from Singapore, who looked pretty different to me, but got us mixed up. And I was like, how does that happen when we look really different? We have where we look and act is completely different. But is that those kind of things that people weren't maybe quite used to people like me?
So where were most of the other people from? Were they like the other university students? Were they from the UK or?
I would say most of them were from the UK. I just happened to also have a group of friends who were from Malaysia, and that helped my fitting in, if you like, just because they were also foreign. I'm definitely drawn to people from Southeast Asia. It's just a natural sort of instinct of mine, because I just feel safe with those people. Or people who are well traveled. I'm like, oh, you're like me. It feels comforting.
Yeah, you've got that affinity with the.
I do. I don't really understand English people all the time. It sounds terrible, doesn't it? It's just different. So so the people who have traveled and are open to other cultures, or have lived in other countries, I definitely have an affinity with.
That's not uncommon for the TCK. I see in the Facebook groups many posts about how do you get along with monocultural people. What?
Very hard.
Yeah, is that your experience too?
Very much, yeah. Yes, definitely. Yes, I can think of like jobs I've had in England where my team have been from England and just spent their whole lives in England, and they have like in sort of jokes and cultural references that I just didn't have when I was growing up because I was in Hong Kong. So little things like that, I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. I feel really out of place here. They're still lovely, but it's just not quite the same wavelength as me. Yeah.
So after university at Sheffield, what was next?
I spent a year in Sheffield temping, and then I moved to Japan, and I dragged my boyfriend at the time along with me, and we went to Japan for a few years, taught English there. Then I went traveling. We broke up. He stayed out there and married a Japanese girl. He's still out there. And then I went traveling in Australia for a few months, and then ended up in Hong Kong again.
And what had drawn you to Japan?
My mum is from Japan. I was at a loss of what to do. Actually, I knew I didn't really want to stay in Sheffield. It's nice. It's nice and as fun as it was during university. I was like, no. yeah, my mum's Japanese, brush up on the Japanese even more. Yeah, and so I lived there for a few years, and that was a really interesting experience as well. My Japanese language improved a lot. I was almost becoming bilingual, like I was dreaming in Japanese, so that's quite exciting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I've lost it a little bit since being in London for so long, but it was definitely exciting when I started dreaming in Japanese and thinking in Japanese. I was like, ooh. So that's another thing. Like my language skills go up and down depending on where I've been or who I've talked to. Yeah.
Language, accent.
My accent changes. Does your accent change?
Yes.
It's interesting, isn't it? So when I meet up with my school friends, my accent becomes more American. Hong Kong has got quite a lot of American influence, even though it was a British colony. A lot of media, like Friends and Hollywood movies have American accents, so that, I don't know, it just brushes off on your own accent. So definitely when I've spent time with them, I sound like I'm from America. It's pretty strange.
Yeah, that gets quite confusing for some people, doesn't it, when your accent changes?
Yeah.
And it's only natural. You don't do it on purpose.
No, and it happens really quickly, I find, as well. Kind of slip in and slip out of accents. Yeah, it's a chameleon. There's a chameleon kind of effect there.
So what was it like fitting into Japan when you first went there?
Well, they all thought I was foreign. Nobody thought I was Japanese. So I moved there with my boyfriend at the time, who had blonde hair and blue eyes. So they loved us. Like, they found us fascinating as a couple, especially the younger generations. When I taught in, I was there on the JET program. So when I taught in the high schools, I stick out like a sore thumb, and I think it's the closest I'll ever come to feeling like a celebrity, because they all were like staring at me, wanted to take me home to their parents to show me off. It was that kind of level. Very strange. Yeah. And I remember sitting in a restaurant with my boyfriend, and there was an elderly Japanese couple, and they found us absolutely fascinating. They were staring at us like we were some kind of TV program. And it does get a little bit unsettling when someone's staring at you eat. So I got a bit annoyed and told them to stop. Please don't stare at us. We're not some kind of TV program. I remember getting quite mad about that. But yeah. And one of the good things about knowing Japanese and not looking like a Japanese person in Japan is that you can understand what everyone's saying. And yeah, there are quite a lot of people who speak about me. And I was like, I don't know exactly what you're saying about me. And I would say, yeah, it's a trick. And I would say a Japanese phrase, and they would be so shocked. They're like, oh my God, the foreigner can understand us.
So what was it like then to be seen as somebody so different, but yet you spent some time there and, as you mentioned, brushed up your language, and you are half Japanese as well. So how did that make you feel?
That's a good question. I suppose I've always felt like I wasn't completely Japanese or English or from Hong Kong. So I guess I'm kind of used to not feeling completely from anywhere. Yeah, I think it's just accepted that that's the way it is. I do find it, I guess there's a combination of feelings, of feeling like I am half Japanese, so I can use chopsticks because they are quite amazed when you can do things like that. So it's nothing to be surprised about. And they're also amazed when I speak Japanese. But I guess I think I'm just so used to not fitting in completely anywhere that I don't know. It's sort of, that's just the way it is. So I guess I don't feel terribly troubled one way or another, I guess. Yeah, it's an interesting question. Not sure, actually, is to answer your question.
Okay.
Yeah. I think one of the challenges of being a TCK is that you don't feel like you're at home anywhere, and that always is quite difficult to deal with when I think about it properly. So I try not to think about it too much. I definitely feel most at home in airports or airplanes, actually. But yeah, I'm like, oh, yeah, I know what I'm doing here. This is where I belong. It's a strange sort of thing to say, I think, but yeah.
I know exactly what you mean, I suppose, because I'm a TCK as well.
Yeah.
And there's that thing about airports and planes where you just want to breathe in and relax.
Yeah,
Relax into that space.
yeah, because I know what I'm doing there. It's just, immigration, going wait by the gate. Yeah. And every time I sit in an airplane, it's very familiar. It's like I've done it so many times. Yeah, I mean, I flew on an airplane before I could actually walk as a little human. So it's just that kind of, that's just the way it is. Yeah. Maybe you're similar, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, my first big move was from Scotland to Australia at the age of about 1. So, yes, I think it's one of the checklist of, you're a TCK if you flew before you could walk.
Yeah. And there's another one, isn't there, where when somebody says visa, you think of like the traveling visa, not the credit card.
Yes.
Yeah. It's definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, rings true for me.
So, after Japan,
I went traveling for a little bit in Australia. And then I moved back in with my parents in Hong Kong. And I worked in Hong Kong at a dog rescue for a few years. And then the thing about living in Hong Kong for me is, although I grew up there, I went to an English school and we weren't taught Cantonese or Mandarin. So there is that, it's home, but I feel like a foreigner kind of feeling there. And every time I go back, I do feel like, oh, I wish I knew the language. So that's definitely something that crops up, but yeah.
So a sense of familiarity, but still feeling like the outsider.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always feel like that everywhere I go, apart from maybe when I'm at home here with my cat, or when I'm with my parents, or loved ones, or other people like yourself, my school friends who've got similar backgrounds.
You mentioned a sister as well.
Yes.
And is she in Hong Kong still?
So my younger sister Ellie, she lives in Brisbane with her partner.
Okay.
Yep. So I'd imagine for her, perhaps she's got 4 cultures now. So I haven't really asked her, but yeah. So we Ellie and I have managed to basically live in all these different countries, but never in the same country at the same time. It would seem like we're sort of running away from each other. So when she was in London, I was in Japan. When I was in Japan, she was in London, and now she's in Australia, and I'm here.
That sounds like you both had the TCK wings and kept moving after finishing school.
Yeah, I know. I've been here for 11 years. Maybe it's time to move again, but
yeah. Getting itchy feet.
I am actually. Yeah. Yeah.
So 11 years in London, that's a good chunk of time to be somewhere.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be here? I mean, obviously I'm in London as well, and one of the things that I love about it is it's such a multicultural melting pot of all sorts, so it's kind of I feel it's easy to blend in. What are your thoughts on that?
I agree with you, actually. I don't feel out of place, especially because a lot of my friends are from different places, and we go to Chinatown, and because that's our Hong Kong heritage coming in there. So places I go to, quite international. Definitely when I've been to other parts of the UK, I do feel like I stick out more, and it's noticeable that it's not quite the same way I feel as I am in London. But yeah, London's great for, you know, lots of different cultures. You just have to walk down the street and you'll see people from all over the place. So I agree. It's a wonderful place to be if you're like us.
Yeah, I think for me, coming here after Australia, one of the things I used to love was riding on the tube, and you'd hear so many different languages.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, sometimes you just don't even hear an English
Yeah,
speaking
exactly.
person, which is awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. So with the moves that you've had over the years, how do you deal with the goodbyes?
Oh, I, you know, that I've done them so often, but every time I feel really sad, especially saying goodbye to my parents in Hong Kong or my sister, because we don't always know when we're going to see each other again. And I think as I get older and they get older, it gets harder actually. Yeah, but it's just something I've done so many times. Although I don't like it, I'm just used to it. And you know, those first few weeks after you said goodbye, it's a bit of getting used to, but you just get used to your life again wherever you may be. Yeah, yeah. That it's I don't like it.
Yeah,
I'm terrible. I'm terrible at goodbyes in general, but yeah, that's hard, and it only gets harder with family in particular.
what about staying in touch with people?
Lockdown has actually given me a lot of opportunity to get in touch with my friends who are all over the world, who maybe I haven't spoken to in a while. So that's been a real blessing, actually. That, you know, the technology gives you that closeness, and I think one of the best things about lockdown has been that reconnecting with my friends all over the world. Yeah, just the other day I spoke to a good friend who lives in Myanmar, and on Sunday I'll be speaking to two of my friends, one of which is in Australia and the other one's in New York. So it's that kind of, you know, even though we're far in distance, we still catch up, which has been amazing.
That thing where you pick up the phone or pick up a Zoom call and you're straight back there.
Yeah. It's like time has not passed actually sometimes, which is I think a good sign of a good friend.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So you mentioned possible itchy feet and been in London for a little while now. Where might be next?
I think it will probably still be in the UK. I really like wildlife and the green, and lockdown has reminded me of how much I love animals. And I don't have a garden at the moment, and I really want a place with a garden, so maybe somewhere, you know, out of London, so my cat can have some outdoor space and I can watch birds.
Yeah.
You know, watch my flowers grow and that kind of thing. Yeah, I think I want to move out of the city, possibly. I don't know. I don't know. I have thought about, you know, moving back to Asia, possibly, but my cat, I love my cat very much. My cat keeps me in England.
Oh.
Yeah.
Being an animal lover myself, I can relate to that.
Have you got any pets?
I don't anymore, but I did bring my dog over from Sydney to
Oh,
London
wow.
many years ago. So yeah, I understand the strong pull to having the little furry ones around.
Yeah. He's my constant actually. Like I guess he's where home is a lot of the time at the moment. Yeah.
Ah, that's an interesting one, because it's
Yeah.
something I often ask is, what makes somewhere feel like home for you?
He does, my little cat. Yeah. Um, my parents and my sister as well, but I guess he's been with me for the last 8 years, and he's just, you know, my constant cute little furry friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, he just gets on with life. Yeah, he's definitely where my heart is, part of my heart anyway. Yeah.
I'm thinking also, if you've been here for 11 years now, for people that haven't moved around, then the prospect of moving is feels like another, a big upheaval, having to make new friends. Do you still get that, or is it just something that you kind of, that's just what we do?
I think maybe when I was younger, I was more open to doing that, but I think I do really want to find a base that's that I can call home. I yeah, I do want to settle. Moving's quite tiring. I do find even just going on a trip, I find the change of scenery quite. It takes a few days for me to acclimatize again, even though I've done it so many times. It's an interesting thing. I get quite used to my environment. So I think I want to find a place to call home and stop moving. Ideally. But it's a bit of a conundrum because at the same time I still want to travel back to my other two countries. It's almost like I want to have Hong Kong, Japan, and England all next to each other, actually. That would be ideal.
Need that button to transport yourself there.
Yeah, teleportation needs to become mainstream, I think. That would solve a lot of problems.
That's what we TCKs need.
We do, definitely. Oh. We'll work on that.
What about your career? Do you think that's been influenced by your multicultural background?
Well, my career, I was an English teacher for a few years, and then I fell into animal welfare, although I've always loved animals. So that's been, I guess that's a constant as well. So if I go on trips to my other countries, I do always look up animal rescues. I guess maybe that's something that grounds me and definitely ties me down, animal welfare. So I think that's such a strong passion that no matter where I am, or it will always be there. Has that answered your question? I'm wondering. Yeah.
And tell me, if there was something that you wanted to say to other TCKs that you wanted them to know, what would that be?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess it would be the understanding that it's not always easy, although I think really it's a blessing and a curse rolled up in one. And other people who are not, classified as TCKs don't always see that. And it can be really hard to be away from your family, but at the same time, you should. Well, being in England is the best thing for me, career-wise, house-wise. But I do miss that family connection a lot. Yeah. So I guess the message would be is understanding that yes, it has its wonderful parts, but it's also very difficult. And I get it.
So
you're not alone. Yeah.
Challenges and benefits, and you're not on your own with this.
Yeah. Definitely.
Can't believe we've almost come to the end of our 30 minutes.
Really?
I like to finish on a positive note. So tell me, what would you say is the best thing about being a TCK?
Oh, there's so much. I am very proud of where I've come from. I love saying that I'm half Japanese. I love England as well, but my Japanese half, Japan's really special. I think it's the knowledge of lots of different cultures and being able to connect with people from lots of different places and being open to different things in that culture. Being aware of the world, I think that's a real gift, actually. And I'm interested as well in lots of different places and how different countries work and how people are, and that's a huge gift. for me.
Mm.
So I'm very proud of my upbringing and where I've come from. Very lucky, yeah. Best of both worlds, or three worlds.
Your worlds.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Well, Mara, it's been an absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed speaking with you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
You're welcome. It's lovely to meet you, and thank you for inviting me along today.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for listening to People Like Us. If you'd like to join an online community full of people like us, hop over to Facebook and search for People Like Us. You'll find my group, and you're very welcome to join us.